Good morning, YS. Look at that nasty drop right there in the tape. Long time no see. Yeah, I took a bit of a long weekend. Let's give it a bounce today. Well, let's discuss that, right? Let's discuss the bounce. So here's the reason why it's certainly troublesome, right? Yields, 2-year yield just soaring and roaring today. You're seeing semiconductors still seeing a little bit of distribution here. SOXX, new lows today coming into that 20-day moving average. So you might want to retest 480. I would like to see it flush into that 20-day. That would be ideal for me to see a bounce off of that zone. But the big problem with the market right now is that they're starting to price in potentially a rate hike, guys. Rate hike. A rate hike. 10-year yield breaking out here, up 1.3% today. And then more importantly, look at the long end of the curve. 30-year yield. This is troublesome. Coming up into this triple top, I mean, if we make a new nominal high, which it looks like it's very close to doing so, things are in trouble. Looking at TLT, getting absolutely trashed at new lows of the session. But when we have this 2-year yield well above the actual Fed fund rate, that is the problem for the market. Market is so they should talk. Oh, well, again, we did have high inflation expectations across CPI and PPI, and the dollar's just starting to break out here. So I really don't know if he's going to try to obviously make some announcements, but look, he tried tacoing yesterday on the war by delaying a strike, and what the hell did crude oil do? Barely came down, still trading over 102. So this is the problem still. Crude oil is the problem, and now yields are finally starting to say, holy shit, maybe the administration has been lying to us. Maybe oil isn't coming down. Maybe the war isn't ending. Maybe it's going to be a prolonged conflict, and maybe there is a true shortage. So right now, the market is certainly reacting to those higher yields, and what you're seeing is a nice rotationary trade underneath the hood of the market. I like that a lot. I like it a lot. So a lot of the companies that actually have proven business models aren't this forward-looking speculation, right? McDonald's starting to bottom when yields are surging, right? Nice push up here on MCD. You got Constellation Brands, STZ, starting to try to carve out a little bit of a bottom here. Some of these value names are starting to firm up across the board. Healthcare stocks, XLV, still trying to carve out a little bit of a base here. ZTS, some of these oversold names, catching some bids. So it's good to see. And then software is really surging, still acting quite well. I think dip buys today should be in software since the momentum trade is with them right now. I'm looking at buying the dip on Microsoft if the markets give me the right signal intraday. Yeah, Tuesday should be a bigger taco, but we'll see. Trump certainly doesn't like these higher rates, but I don't know if he has he keeps trying to taco and it's not working right now. Oil keeps climbing. Um, Home Depot just reported earnings, guys. Stock is under a little bit of pressure. The earnings were kind of flat to, they were still posted a double beat, but it wasn't really anything special. So we got to watch yields today again. Dollar. Silver and gold are getting pummeled as well. Higher yields. Those look like still continued swing shorts, but might be a bit of a bounce trade opportunity. I'm watching silver for a little bit of a long trade. If it flushes into this 74.30 zone, I'd probably take SLV on the long side today. But other than that, I think software is the better bet to try to buy the dip on, since we are seeing the rotation trade hitting names like ServiceNow. That one's just been an absolute beast off of the lows. CRM starting to participate. Other names like GoDaddy, Duolingo still haven't officially broken out of that base, but trying. Very close. Duolingo coming into a nice gap fill, looking decent. And then China names, go figure, are acting somewhat well today. Alibaba, which obviously had that big surge on earnings, has retraced down, giving it all up, but green in the pre-market right now. TME looking pretty good in my opinion, guys. This is a China software play, so software is catching the bid. TME gives you that higher beta risk, oversold on all metrics, fundamentally, technically. So the risk to reward, I think, is still on the long side for TME. I am long this stock. Let's look at copper real quick. So copper continues to come down pretty sharply here, giving up its full breakout move. Back testing this zone could be a potential long. That's what I'm looking at. Watch that. FCX. Let's go through some of the mags real quick. So Nvidia obviously has earnings tomorrow. When is it? Thursday? When? Tomorrow, Wednesday. It's pulled back slightly, still well over 5 trillion market cap. We'll see what happens. Google has been still very, very strong, but putting in a nasty topping tail yesterday. This is a short today. I think Google's a short. Apple still consolidating quite well, but back down underneath its 7-day moving average. Microsoft, we quickly touch base on. That's still looking pretty solid in my opinion. MSFT looks strong. You'll try like QQQ today? Nice, 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 nice. Amazon, let's take a peek. AMZN taking a little bit of a breather. Remember, Amazon has retested its earnings high, but it hasn't retested its earnings low. So I think Amazon's going to come into its earnings low at some point. All right. Let's look at Tesla. Tesla keeps on falling lower and lower. The momentum is slowly being sucked out. Actually, it's quickly being sucked out of this trade. Wouldn't be surprised if it bounces off of this 400 level. So another $4 lower, and I would consider maybe a little bit of a bounce trade there. Let's look at Meta. Meta coming in still. Intel pulling back sharply. Micron still pulling back. AMD still pulling back. But yeah, this SOXX, guys, I want to see that 20-day tap. You have triggered a bit of a head and shoulders formation on the hourly. Downside target takes you to 468 first level. Yesterday we did take profits on some common shares. We've been long rig in the investing group, so we netted over 17% gain. Still have half the position on the table with a stop loss at $7. Okay, so nice job if you caught that rig trade with us. We went long 645, and basically I've ridden it up yesterday to 755. It was good to see a lot of the stocks that we've been nibbling on, like Kratos, catching a bit of a bounce. McDonald's, of course, STZ, Healthcare, Zoidus, catching some bids. Looking at Quantum still showing a bit of weakness here. Let's look at RGTI, Rigetti. Looks like Rigetti's going for new lows. QBTS, interesting. Let's look at some of these other industrials. Boeing, that's had a nice pullback into the 50. This is one that could catch a bounce off of this level. A lot of daily chart support here. And if it loses this low, this little low that it made yesterday, then it's going at minimum for gap fill. CMO. Hmm. Look at our solar plays again. Yeah, in phase pulling back slightly, but still holding up quite well. FSLR still looking pretty solid. Hmm. We'll see. Anyone looking at going long Home Depot? Might be a bit of a bounce trade. The only concerning thing is at 10 o'clock we have building permits. Building permits. Oof. Market's still under a lot of pressure. Lots of sell side pressure. Gonna drink some more coffee, guys. Be right back. His markets are still selling pretty sharply here. S&P new lows, new intraday lows, gnarly. Coming up into a nice gap fill on semis, but this is heavy selling. Your yields and oil right back up, pushing hard. Whoo! We're in free fall for the tape, man. We are in free fall. Morning, Renzer. Welcome, welcome. Shoulders trying to trigger on the QQQ, so just keep that in mind, guys. I think the Qs can today could flush all the way down to 693.50. The big question is, are we going to see a heavy de-risking event for Nvidia? If Nvidia starts to sell off even more, we could go downtown, man, because tomorrow earnings, it's a big stock. You generally can see de-risking in the morning, maybe some buy pressure in the afternoon. I'm watching software for longs, China for longs. But overall, don't think the indices are still vulnerable for more downside. We're just starting to get that sell side pressure. And this is all happening while software is pretty strong. Microsoft still trying to push higher. Software still looking decent. Microsoft just moving quickly here. Wow, they didn't even give us a chance on Microsoft. All right, let's get ready here, guys. Big gap down so far. We'll see if it gets bought. Wow, silver down 5.2%, guys. I might try to take a long on silver at some point here. SLV. Hmm. Yeah, that's silver, guys. Silver looks interesting down here. Let's see how it shakes up. I am watching SLV, guys. I'm going to look at building into a $67 call position on SLV, but I need to wait a little bit here. Netflix is still strong. Big bounce coming into the tape. Microsoft still moving. Nvidia weak. Netflix strong. Nice bounce on ZTS. Nokia down another 2.77. That's good to see. Dollar still ripping, oil still strong, Apple green, Microsoft ripping, all other mags are down. Tesla drilling, Nvidia trying to catch a nice bounce. All right, rejection in some Microsoft software. China name seeing rejection. What else we got going on? ServiceNow still up 3.5% and moving. Baba's green. Financials. Oof. Natural gas and oil still super duper strong. Ten-year yield up 1.57%. Wild stuff. Oil still moving. Microsoft getting hammered. Nvidia pumping. Semis getting bought up here quickly. Silver getting a nice buy program. AMD, Intel going green. Apple pushing hard. QQQ getting a nice buy program from semis here. Nvidia trying to go green. Yeah, they buy it up so quickly, some of these stocks. GoDaddy having a good day. AMD still trying to hold green. Okta's green. MongoDB's green. Nvidia's still trying to flex its muscles. Still slightly down, but trying to go green. Nice pullback on Microsoft. Could be a bit of a dip trade buy on MSFT here. It, uh, it did fill that gap though. That's crazy. Still looking at SLV $67 calls. I was hoping that this 10-minute candle would close at the lows and fill the gap around a pierce of 66. Don't know if it's going to do it. It's trying to bounce right now as the dollar's softening a little bit. IGV still coming in. Microsoft, hard rejection down. Interesting. All right, Nvidia is seeing a pretty big rejection off of 222. SPY right back down. QQQ SPY. The SPY looks like it's going to take out this low. No problem. Looks nasty. QQQ still looking troublesome, guys. Dollar still super duper strong. Micron having a great day. Microsoft still getting slammed. Still watching silver here. AMD having a nice bounce. SLV right back down to the lows. Interesting. Interested in SLV here. I'm getting super interested in SLV. Big push in the tape. Dollar softening. I am long silver. $67 calls. Sammys are ripping, bouncing hard. Dollar softening a little bit. Sammys are ripping. Microsoft still green, but pulling in sharply from its highs, looking like it wants to fill that downside gap. Apple still holding steady and strong. Nvidia fully bully, ripping to the top side. Semiconductors are starting to gain quite a bit of that liquidity that we're used to seeing. They are sucking up everything right now. Even though SPY is pretty weak, you got QQQ trying to flex its muscles a little bit from that tech basket. So big divergence right now between QQQ, SPY, IWM. SPY is now starting to participate. A little bit more green across the board. Marvell ripping, Intel ripping, ServiceNow still ripping. Silver down 5.54%. Wow. Gold down 1.8. Yield still ripping strong as ever. Nice bounce on silver, guys. Come on. Take our 67s in the money. Come on. Nvidia, a little bit of top wick distribution. Still struggling off that 223 zone for Nvidia, which is pre-market high level. Dollar still seeing a minor bit of rejection off of its pre-market high, 99.37, 35 area. Crude oil still trying to hold 103 like a champ. VIX is still slightly green. Intel getting rejected. It's back to the dark side. Silver still struggling a touch here. S&P still being drained here. Sitting right on this massive head and shoulders neckline. I would expect that we build a little bit more of a defined right shoulder, but it's weak. We still have 10 a.m. data, so in about 20 minutes we have pending home sales. Maybe they're gonna come out hot with the way interest rates are moving today. Silver still trying to curl down 5.86. Gold almost down 2. IWM still down 1.18%, leading the charge to the downside. SPY underperforming Qs, so you can still see tech is trying to catch a bit of liquidity, but semiconductors, SOXX back to the red. Microsoft is still trying to hold 425. Still an interesting potential long opportunity, MSFT. I'm eyeing it up for a bit of a bounce trade here, but I'm going to keep a tight stop loss on Microsoft, but I am eyeing it up for a long trade. Looking at what are we, May 20th, so they're 1 DTEs. 427.50 call. Maybe. 425 call. Let's see what those are worth. Silver still coming in sharply. Crude oil still trying to grind. Intel right back down. Looking at entering MSFT 425 calls, but I want to see the price of those contracts below $4. So if MSFT fills that downside gap, we should get those contracts below $4. But I'm looking at Microsoft 425 calls. But I'm going to keep a very short leash on this trade because if Microsoft goes any lower than that gap fill, it could go quite a bit deeper to about 419. So, all right, the bid is now under $4, so 395. China stocks are still holding steady. Alibaba pushing. You got 10 Cent Music, TME looking like it wants to go green. Yeah, nice bounce on China stocks, guys. Looking spicy. All right, I just got filled on MSFT. MSFT 425 call at $3.90, guys. Stop on this trade is going to be 350. I'm long MSFT and silver. All right, tight stop on this Microsoft trade. Very tight stop loss for me. SPY's still being drained here. Semis are still being drained here. So I got a 40-cent risk on the Microsoft 425 calls. Nice bounce on silver. Still riding these SLV 67s. Come on, silver. Bounce it, bounce it. SPY's losing its pre-market low. Fucking Microsoft. What are you doing? Come on, defend this prior day high. Give us a little bit of a bounce. Give us a little bounce back to this high and I'd be very happy. Nice bounce on silver. Come on, Microsoft. You can do it. Silver calls are ripping. Nice, nice, nice bounce. Come on, Microsoft. I said as soon as Microsoft, those contracts drop below $4, guys, that's the long trade. I got to fill at 390. Nice bounce. All right, I'm adjusting stops on Microsoft. I'm going to raise it to 370, my stop loss. Just tightening up the risk. Come on, MSFT. Give me a pop. Nice bounce, guys. Really good bounce. All right, I just sold half of my Microsoft calls at 460. Stop at break even. Beautiful bounce on Microsoft, guys. Beautiful. Look at Microsoft ripping. Nice, 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 nice. Contracts are ripping, guys. All right, I'm going to take a full trim if we hit this high pivot here, this trend line, guys. Like a 428, I sell all of it, but I have a stop loss on the rest of the half at break even. Trade is ripping here. Beautiful bounce. Beautiful bounce on Microsoft. Come on, now we need silver to rip. Still in profit on SLV. We do have the Dixie and crude oil softening quite a bit, but so are your semiconductors. Semiconductors are falling to the downside. You got China stocks still absolutely mooning here. TME trying to break out of a 10-minute bull flag. I like it. I like it a lot. Come on, a little bit more, Microsoft. Give me that extra continuation move. Silver, come on, get these 67s in the money. SOXX is melting SPY at the lows. Nvidia is still trying to hold 221.15, but looking weak. Come on, SLV. Pump it. So that was a nice $70 a contract there on Microsoft. I like it. I like it. SLV starting. All right, we're up about $1.10, 110 a contract here on Microsoft. Runners. Come on, Silver. Come on, SLV. My first trim on SLV calls is going to be if we get a pierce outside of this opening range. I want to see a nice little liquidity sweep out of this OR high. Come on, baby. SPY new lows, taking out yesterday's low. That is filthy, guys. Absolutely filthy. Here comes Microsoft. She moving. She's shaking and moving. We ripping, baby. We ripping. Let's get 2 for 2. I want to be out of this trade by 10 o'clock. I do not trust the pending home sales that are about to come out. I don't know what the hell is going to happen, but the way yields are moving. All right, guys. I am all out of my Microsoft. Boom. Banger. Let's get paid. Boom, boom. Pleasure doing business with you. Now comes our silver trade. Let's go, let's go, let's go. That's what I'm talking about, baby. Look at those Microsoft calls. We bought that dip hard. Here comes silver. That was a nice little 50% gain on Microsoft. Beautiful. Beautiful. Come on, silver. You can do it. All right, let's flip back to this S&P. It is getting a bit of a dip buy program, piercing some volume shelves, opening range low levels, but starting to move. Guys, look at China equities. TME, guys. Look at that fat fucking candle, baby. Bull flag breakout, inverse head and shoulders, still oversold on the daily, getting some nice buy side pressure. BABA received a whole bunch of bullish call flow this morning that came across the tape. It is ripping. Sheesh. All right, guys, there is my first profit taking on SLV. It did that liquidity sweep of the high. Sold half. Stop is at break even. Banger. Let's get paid on that too, baby. Anyone still in Microsoft? That thing is a beast. Boom. Look at SLV go, guys. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Just protect that trade if you're long silver. Next trim is at a 67 Pierce here, guys. 67 Pierce. I will dump the full position in SLV. All right, guys. I am all out of my silver. Boom. Let's get paid. That's what I'm talking about. All out of SLV, guys. $1.14. Boom. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Let's go. 2 for 2, guys. Boom. My money's been trade. All right, I'm gonna call it a day here. Pack it on up. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But that's it. Those are my two trade setups, guys. I'm just gonna focus on the rest of my swings here. I'm seeing healthcare starting to make a nice move. Software still flexing its muscles. Semiconductors still quite weak. Microsoft almost testing 430. You do have your dollar curling to the downside. Same thing with oil. But the problem is yields are still strong. Yields are still super duper strong here, guys. Quantum still under pressure. CRM having a fantastic day. IGV up 1.62% and mooning. Boom, man. That was nice. Look at silver, guys. Anyone still in it? You're laughing to the bank. Laughing to the bank. Crude oil still softening up quite a bit. Tesla is still dragging its feet on the ground. Amazon still sucks ass. Apple having a great day. Google getting slapped around. That was the other short. Google was the other short, man. Whew, look at silver mooning. All right, we'll put up this SOXX. S&P still looking a little bit fragile here, guys. A lot of mixed bags here. All right, Meta trying to turn green. You're getting a little bit of performance starting to hit the tape. Gold, silver still weak, but having a phenomenal bounce. Semis are still struggling just a touch here. Man, look at TME, guys. We bullish. We bullish China, man. We bullish China. Send it to the top side, baby. It's crazy to think that China's acting this well. With the dollar breaking out, yields very counterintuitive. BABA still showing its muscles. PDD having a good session. A lot of the China equities are so oversold when you look at some of the US markets. So let's look at JD here. How's that doing? Yeah, catching a nice bounce, bouncing off of that 7-day moving average yesterday. Acting quite well. All right, SPY. SPY is firming up here, trying to close the distance between the Qs. So initially off the morning session, you got that massive surge on your NASDAQ QQQ. Oof, your dollar crude oil is starting to melt pretty quickly here, guys. Crude is starting to melt. You're getting a lot more green on the screen right now. Yes, you are. AMD still looking a little bit fragile here. Intel. Intel not looking too bad intraday, but still down. AMD has a conference day. Thank you for that. Didn't even know that. Appreciate that. I appreciate that information. And sell the news. Yeah, it could be. I mean, right now AMD is looking pretty nasty. And remember, a lot of the other semis have sold off more than AMD. AMD is just starting to trigger that head and shoulders on that intraday pattern. And I mean, the downside on AMD easily to 391. And then the problem with that AMD chart, if we look at it real quick here, That AMD chart I'm going to pull up here on the hourly, right? It's triggered this little breakdown, bearish break, head and shoulders. If you just conservatively use this neckline break, that takes you to 391. But then one could easily argue if you take out these pivot lows, you got a bigger head and shoulders that's triggered. And if you fulfill this downside target, you're into this gap window. Um, but again, honestly, fuck, I don't know what they're going to do with NVIDIA earnings. I really don't. But yeah, AMD's selling hard here. Still seeing a nice bounce in ZTS. Let's look at Home Depot. Home Depot getting a nice buy program. I had a buy around this 288.37, just missed it. ZTS still trying to make a move to the top side. Okay. XLV today having a good session. Green. McDonald's is still trying to build and flex its muscles here. Seasonality. McDonald's has really good sales in the spring and summer. CTS pop sales usually go up, so on and so forth. Service Now, holy moly, eh? That's the new stock that everyone wants. Yes, it is. Let's look at Google down here. That's still coming in. Semis are getting faded pretty hard here. AMD is still up the lows. AMD new lows. Nvidia starting to lose some momentum today, guys. AMD, guys, is melting hard here. Holy moly. Micron. Yeah, Micron's still holding that low, but looking pretty weak as well. Yeah, expecting once we get the cell program finished, I don't expect us to go too deep today. Um, unless software gives it up. If software gives it up, the cell can go pretty deep today. I mean, semi still have this 468 near-term target or this gap fill. But I do expect quite a bit of chop. Maybe the chop day only happens tomorrow, but I would expect that they're going to trap a lot of liquidity on both sides of the trade. You're going to have a lot of people betting long. You're going to have a lot of people betting short into NVIDIA earnings, and we'll see what happens. NVIDIA is starting to weaken here a bit more. Looks like NVIDIA may try to test its lows. It's melting pretty sharply, so this market can go lower if NVIDIA gives it up. Buy starting to sell even more. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. IGV starting to weaken here, guys. So this is a problem. AMD at the low still. Micron seeing some more sell side pressure. Oof, look at TME, how fucking bullish this thing is. Look at this. Woo. She ripping, baby. She ripping. Baba still flexing his muscles. All right, SOXX. There's a hole in my sock. Hole in your socks? Crude oil still softening up. Yield still holding steady. Microsoft curling back down again. Crude oil has softened up quite a bit, and the market is still seeing some sell side pressure. Just give me a sec, guys. Be right back. All right, guys, what is happening here? YS is saying NATO to consider Hormuz deployment if Strait not open by July. Ooh, that sounds gnarly. Still look like we're gonna see quite a bit of sell side pressure, guys. Just be careful if you're trying to trade long. Looks like more sell side pressure is about to hit the tape here. Semis are melting hard and fast. Hard and fast. Look at the selling hitting the tape here. We're looking pretty gnarly, guys. This guys. DXY still pumping. Crude oil starting to make a little bit of a move higher as well. Guys, I just took an 86% gain on Nokia puts. Netflix and software still moving. AMD hitting a little bit of hourly chart support, but still pretty weak here. SOXX has pierced that 20-day moving average like a hot knife through butter. Pierced that gap fill as well. Still have your dollar. Wow, your US dollar is just flying, guys. New highs. Yields are still soaring and roaring. Crazy. Starting to continue. Your US dollar still pumping and jumping. Gold still under pressure. Silver still under pressure. Intel down 4. AMD down 5.8. Tesla down 3.3. You need a big bounce on Qs. You might get it because Trump is starting to speak. Oil still softened up. Dixie should take a bit of a breather here. It's quite extended. Yields are still strong, but seeing a little bit of backing off here. A tiny bit of backing off. So Alright. They're still struggling here, but they're trying to find a little bit of support. Just a minor touch of support. We should have a taco. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. It is Tuesday. Oil is falling, it's softening up here. It's almost negative, so there's a bit of a trade here that we could get a serious bounce here in the tape. Oil firming or falling here pretty quickly. I didn't really look to see what pending home sales came out at. Let's take a peek. Totally missed that one. What did they come in at? Pending home sales 1.4% versus 1% consensus. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense why the dollar ripped even more. That makes a lot of sense. Are trying to bounce, still trying to hold green here underneath its opening range low, which is 103.25 WTI. Nice bounce on Nvidia, guys. Yeah, I think it can make sense. Stop would be low of day if you want to try Microsoft. I have no issues with that. It's been holding this pre-market low here pretty much all day. It's still looking a little bit iffy. Reason why is you had your obviously your low of day, big rally, surge into that gap fill around 432.90 area. Then you had that big sell off back down, bounce, create a lower high. Now you're making lower lows. So it's a tricky one. It's tricky. The market's still vulnerable here. Dollar's still at the highs, yields are still strong. It still looks like the QQQ. The reason I'm staying away now is it's a little bit choppy here, but honestly, the QQQ still looks like it could go down to 694 Pierce, which would be just shy of this gap fill here. I mean, you came very close to filling it on the Qs here, and they just missed it. But the market's trying to stabilize. Certainly trying, but I don't know. I don't like the fact that the Qs didn't fill this gap down below. That's the only concern I have, really. Looks like Microsoft may want to come down to this lower boundary wedge. Hmm. Yeah, SOXX still looks weak. SPY's still being drained here. Market's still struggling. Crude oil trying to make another push here. Your dollar is softening up a little bit. Wow, Rocket Lab's down 10% today. That's filthy. Maybe there's a trade on RKLB. Yeah, your dollar and oil are ripping right back up again, guys. Took another trade on the long side. It is SOFI, $15 call for end of the week. SOFI, $15 call end of the week. All right. Yields, 10-year yield still up about 2% to your yield, 2.25. Crude oil, 1%. Natural gas up 2.24. SPY still dragging its feet down here at the lows, but it is outperforming both the IWM and the QQQ. Seeing Microsoft melting lower, Nvidia trying to perk up. Still seeing software holding steady, but Microsoft has turned negative. Still got strength in healthcare, XLV acting well. CRM, ServiceNow, Netflix, still pushing. China stocks still holding up really, really well. Uranium and nuclear have been crushed. Um, Natural gas shaking and moving today. Quantum wrecked. Crude oil still softening up a little bit. Nice bounce on Micron and AMD. AMD finding hourly chart support. Nice bounce occurring on SoFi and the market. S&P defending this little gap fill. And pivot low. Yep, we're bouncing nicely. Nvidia big candle. All your mags are still red on the session, guys. IREN down 7.4. Tesla down 3.19. SoFi down about 4. Micron down 0.42. Trying to climb back green. Poet down 12.6. Intel down 3. Bank of America. So financials are trying to turn slightly green here. Financial ETF XLF looks pretty spicy still. Possible bull flag on the daily, about to give a little bit of a breakout here. Still looking pretty good. Still softening up quite a bit here. I'm gonna stay on for a few more minutes. I'll keep the Telegram stream going, but a few more minutes I'll stay on for. All right, so intraday update, guys. QQQ is underperforming SPY. SPY is outperforming everything right now, but still down 0.74. IWM is the weakest indices. Small caps are not liking the higher interest rates. Crude oil is still green, but quite a bit off of its highs, softening up here. Natural gas continuing to rip and roar up 2.3%. Bitcoin down 0.6, silver down 4.78, gold down 1.5. 10-year yield has pulled back slightly, but still up 1.88%, and your 2-year yield is up 2.1. VIX is up 1.75%. All mags are down. Nvidia down 0.76, Google down 2, Apple just barely red, but down 0.14. Microsoft also down 0.3, slightly red. Amazon drilling down 2.9, trying to stabilize around this 257 area, but still looking pretty weak. Meta down 0.66. It had a valiant effort early in the morning going green, but getting faded with the overall weakness in the market. Tesla drilling down 3.45%. It looks like Tesla momentum is being sucked dry. Intel down 3.6. AMD down 4.5. Netflix still strong, up 1% on the session. Quite a bit of software stocks are starting to get faded, specifically with the price action in Microsoft. IGV is barely green on the session as we speak. So it's still seeing quite a bit of distribution and profit taking with the big push in ServiceNow, CRM, Oracle, Unity, all the other names, but a lot of the names are starting to turn red. Uranium nuclear absolutely getting its ass handed to it. If we look at sectors of the market, you do have communications down 0.24%, materials, XLB drilling down 2.46%, XLF just slightly red down 0.17%, XLE is green slightly, industrials XLI down 1.41, XLK and XLY are your weakest indices in the tech space, down 1.5% respectively. Staples are green, real estate's green, utilities green, and healthcare is green. So despite the overwhelming sell side pressure in the tape, this is not a broad based sell off in the market as of yet. We still have pockets of strength and pockets of rotation, which is healthy to see. Dollar still consolidating on the 10-minute chart, trying to target potentially $100 for the DXY. DXY is close to a gap fill, which is around 99.50, 51-ish. So that Dixie looks like it wants that daily chart gap fill. Don't know if it's going to happen today. It could easily happen today. There's still a ton of time left in the trading session. Software still looks like the best buy the dip candidates for the time being, and healthcare and staples, guys. Software, healthcare, staples still are probably the better longs on the session. Keep in mind, Nvidia earnings are tomorrow. In terms of earnings after hours, we have a couple names, Kava, Keys, and Toll Brothers. So a little bit of the food stocks, consumer food, spending, Keys, and Toll Brothers. Tomorrow morning, we have Target, Lowe's, TGX, Analog Devices, and Zim. So we got some, again, some consumer discretionary stocks, consumer staples, and analog devices, and a shipping stock, Zim. And then after hours, you got NVIDIA, Intuit, ELF, and ENS. Later on in the week, we also have some interesting names: Walmart, Neo, John Deere, BJ, AAP, Zoom, Take-Two, Workday, Deck, Copart, Ross Stores. Look at Ross Stores. Micron, AMD still trying to bounce and stabilize. Still trading up 1.15 over the 5% psychological barrier. 20-year yield up 5.2%. Nice pullback to an Oracle. I hope you make money on your QQQ call. Crude oil, though, is trying to push up again. Humana having a good day. Hershey having a good day. Home Depot making a beautiful bullish recovery off of the lows. Home Depot looks like an interesting one on the swing trade side, guys. Super oversold. Earnings are now out of the way. I was waiting to see. Oh, I was hoping there was this massive gap fill going all the way back to 2023 that I was hoping Home Depot would hit. But look at that bullish reversal on Home Depot, guys. That's looking like a pretty nice candle to at least trade off of. Tomorrow, if we get a retrace down on that, I would be a buyer starting to nibble on some of these positions. But Home Depot, pretty disconnected from the market. Beautiful sell off there. And honestly, the building permits came in pretty strong, so that does support the thesis that people are still building, doing home renovations. Strong building permits are heavily correlated to Home Depot. The dollar and crude oil are starting to soften up a little bit more. Semis are bouncing pretty firmly. SPY's trying to push up quite a bit here. Well, guys, I'm gonna close up the YouTube stream for the day. May jump back on for power hour, depending on how things shape up. I'm gonna keep the Telegram stream going. Gotta do some scans of the market, see if there's any sort of new trade setting up here. But keep your eye on those yields in the dollar. The dollar is holding up firmly, putting in potentially a 10-minute bull flag, and it does look like it wants to go higher, both intraday and on the daily chart. Daily chart signaling some very strong price action. Weekly chart as well, getting some buy signals. So uh, the market is remaining pretty weak across the board. You've had a nice intraday bounce in your semis, but the problem is software is giving it up here. And that means we could go lower, guys. We could go lower. Just be clear, the trend intraday on SPY is lower highs, lower lows. There is a big downtrend in place, and you've also triggered a bit of a head and shoulders here on SPY. Often they like to retrace the neckline, which would be a push back up to call it 735, give or take a few pennies. But no question we looking weak. And the big thing is there going to be more de-risking on NVIDIA? Right now, semiconductors have stabilized, but software is drilling right now. IGV, new low of day, down 0.25%, looking heavy. Nice job on the silver calls and Microsoft calls, guys. 2 winners on the day trade. We also took some profits in the swing trading group on Nokia puts. And then we did a couple little buys here, but we'll see what happens for the rest of the session. And good luck if you're trying to trade some close dated options.